This city has stories, and so do we. It's not just a podcast, it's a movement. Real stories, real people, real purpose, real purpose. Pull up a seat, get comfortable. Let's talk purpose, pain, growth, and everything in between. From the heart of Atlanta to wherever you are, welcome to Stool Talk. Let's walk it out in purpose together. So today with us on Stool Talk, we're honored to have a special guest with us. Here on Stool Talk, we walk in purpose, on purpose, and today's guest is definitely doing that. She's a great pillar of the community. She's been a dedicated educator, a great mom, a great wife, just amazing. I heard so many stories of how she helped people's children, get to where they are. She helped, motivate them. She helped encourage them, and she even allows them to even come back and, see her and see how they doing. So today we have with us the one, the only Miss Herneika Johnson. How you doing today?
Hello. Good afternoon. How's everybody?
Yeah. So, like I said before, you've been a dedicated educator and a community leader for many years. What first inspired you to take the educational road?
I was always that teacher growing up, with my two sisters. I don't know if you know, but I have two sisters and we're 2 years apart, where I'm the middle child, the true middle child. So we used to play school and I was always the teacher. I was always the bossy one telling everybody what to do. But it was always just ingrained in me that I was going to kind of work with children in some sort of capacity. My great grandmother was one of the first Black teachers down in Mississippi. And I didn't know that until as I got older. My aunt, who I look just like, act just like, she's an educator in Texas. And it's funny because I recently did our ancestry and I found out my ancestor came to Mississippi from the north, came down to Mississippi, and he was a traveling educator. So it just runs in my blood. It truly, and honestly runs in my blood. So I think it's my calling. I really do.
Yeah. Was there any sports involved as you was growing up in school?
I will say I'm the best athlete in the house. And I think everybody will admit that. I played basketball. I ran cross country. I ran track. My kids, when we go to work out, they would rather work out with their dad instead of me. So that says a lot, those expectations.
Shout out Mr. Johnson. Shout out Keith.
He'll tell you. He will honestly tell you. I was athlete of the year, in school. I love sports, basketball. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Nobody can ever tell me otherwise. But I think I'm a true athlete. Michigan fan, go blue. So yes.
No. So what made you not pursue the sports career or to even do something in sports, but to take the teaching education aspect?
It's funny because I didn't take it serious like I should. I look back and I got a couple scholarships, I think like D3s, D2s. And, back in the day, I didn't really understand that. My husband and I have been together since I was 16 years old, and he always knew he was going to go to college for basketball. It was just something I did I was just always out there running, always out there doing something. But track was I love basketball, but track was my sport. Track, we went to the regional finals, I believe my sophomore year, junior year. I didn't take it seriously, and that's why I'm so on athletes and, students now, that people are saying and speaking these things into you and you got to really believe it. So I laugh all the time because my son, he always says, "Mom, you the only one that didn't play in college. You the only one that didn't do this." And I'm like, that's true. I didn't, but it's not like I couldn't. I think I was just so focused on, academics and, just that college experience. So, if I had to do it over, would I pursue that, who knows? Who
Everything happens
knows?
for a reason. So
Absolutely.
everything happens for a
Absolutely.
reason because the impact that you have put inside your kids, and I can't wait to interview your son and get him. Interviewed your daughters. I got another interview coming up this weekend with your daughter too. But what you guys have poured inside them, the sports, the education, and even the faith, that's much more because that's seeds that they're planting into other people that they got from you. So now that's being reciprocated by what they have been taught and what you pushed into them. It could have been sports, but you were well balanced to be able to put other things inside of them to help them with different things that they went through over the course of your career. Have you seen the role of teachers evolved?
Absolutely. You may not know this, but I'm going into my 26th year in education. So starting off, I was a sixth grade teacher. And it's funny because one of my sixth graders, I have a meeting, her former sixth grader, I got a meeting with her tomorrow. It has changed. It has honestly, and I think the change started is the invention of cell phones. Call me crazy. But I truly saw, at that point, I was the principal at Robinson Junior High when it was the junior high, not this K through 8 thing we have. I was junior high Robinson principal. The kids started bringing their phones to school. They started getting on social media at the time. I don't remember what was in at the time, but you saw a change in the kids where you couldn't really talk to them because they were always on their phones, or they were exposed to other things and other conversations that I was like, wow, junior high, this is what we're talking about. And then as I transitioned to where I am now, it definitely is a change. The kids are different. I'll get on the parents, and my parents at Grove Patterson, they'll tell you, Miss Johnson, to get on me too. I got to get on the parents because like a lot of the social bullying and a lot of those things that are happening now where, years ago, if somebody was bullying you in the neighborhood, you didn't go outside. You just said, no, he can't come out. She can't come out. Now these kids are being exposed to so much. And as parents, we don't have control over it. We don't know who's calling. We don't know who's on social media. We don't know who's on those video games. Our Super Mario Brothers, you weren't talking to your neighbor playing Super Mario Brothers. But now they're on these chats talking to people across the world. And it's nothing, I don't say it's nothing you could do because you just turn it off if you were a parent. But our parents are so, non-equipped to deal with these situations as well. But I can definitely see that it's the cell phone, social media. It is not for the best of our kids and our students.
Yeah. So with the challenges that these teachers are facing now, what would be one thing or some things that they can do to allow them to still be the best version of themselves as a teacher and do quality work by teaching them and allowing them to get the best out of the student with all this going on?
The best thing I can say is get to know your, I don't say babies, get to know your kids.
Yeah.
Get to know them outside of school, show up at, their games. Kids are brutally honest. They know when you care and they know when you don't. And, people always would say, you got that mama stare, so they call me Mama Johnson. My babies, when I was at Robinson, called me Mama Johnson or Auntie Johnson. I'm not that traditional principal, and I wasn't that traditional teacher. I'm sure my students will tell you that the same thing as well. It was kind of like how I was when I was raised and grew up. I would have rather took that spanking. I would have rather took that, harsh punishment. I just did not want to disappoint my mom and my father.
Yeah.
When I was disappointing them, the world just could have ended because I did not want to see that look of disappointment on my dad's face or my mom's face. So as I'm a principal, it's the same way. My kids will do something and I just look at them and they'll be like, I disappointed you. Yeah, I'm not mad at you. I'm not angry at you. Some of my kids say, Miss Johnson, you had to put me out. You suspended me, but I was better for it. And I never suspended. I very rarely suspended. But I would bring them back when they would come back in. We would have a conversation. And I would say, I'm not angry at you. I'm just disappointed in the choices because you're so much better than that. And if you come from that perspective, you can do wonders. You can do wonders with children because they don't want to disappoint the people they love. They don't want to disappoint the people that they respect. So I have a office that's you come in my office anytime. It's kids standing around, kids in my office. I tell a story all the time. We're in the cafeteria, and if you ever come in our cafeteria, it's probably the loudest cafeteria you ever have. And they were trying to get them quiet. And I'm in my office. I had to do some work. And one of the ladies, she was like, do y'all want me to go get Miss Johnson? And the whole cafeteria said, yes, go get Miss Johnson. I tell that story all the time. And I'm like, don't go get Miss Johnson because we're going to have fun. We're going to kick it. So, it's just, we have fun and we laugh. And, the young educators, tenure educators, have fun, get to know your children, get to know them and let them know that you're human. You make mistakes. You're not perfect. And at the end of the day, you're going to go to bat for them. And if you could do that, like I said, them kids will do wonders for you.
Yeah. And as a, longtime educator, a mother, how did you guide your children as they grew to allow them to continue to be successful academically and, academics and with sports for they could be consistent because they played at multiple levels. So they did it all the way through. What was what was it like when you did that? Was it any struggles in that?
Oh, struggles every single day. I could go to school the rest of my life. I am a school person. I love school. I love reading. So my daughter, a lot of people don't know this, but although my husband and I have been together for so long, I had a Kenray when I was just 19, almost 20. So I was young. I was young when I had her. So she would come to class with me in college. You hear stories on Facebook and social media. I was that parent. Although I had grandparents that would watch her, but I would take her and my niece, Kiana, I would literally take them to class with me and they would sit in class and had their little coloring books or whatever they had to do. But I knew I was going to finish school in 3 years. I knew I was not going to struggle. So Kenray basically grew up going to college classes. She was in classes, and they're hooked on phonics. We would read to her every day because my dad read to us every single day. Jayla the same way. Jayla came in this world. She is my twin also. She is independent. She's gonna do it on her own. And they all had really, really good test scores. Now the baby boy, he a little different. He a little different. I laugh all the time because my principal at the time, Ann Redmond, I didn't know I was pregnant. And I thought I was done with just two girls. And here he comes. Because Keyshawn wanted that boy. And when I tell you it's been a struggle since day one. But and he's going in education. I don't know if you know that. He's going to be a special education teacher. Wow. Yes. And he understands the struggle. I babied him. I'm not gonna lie. I babied him. But hopefully I can say that he admits now he kind of struggled in school. He's very brilliant. Very brilliant. We will sit. I don't know. I'm sorry if you hear those dogs barking. It's a dog going past. We sit and talk about the Bible, with all of my children. And when he had to do his reading in school, he would go get the Bible and he would read many of the biblical stories and things like that. But as he kind of going with school, it just didn't come easy for him, So as he's in college now, he tries, he struggles, but yet he perseveres. And that's where I think he's going to be a phenomenal educator because a lot of times people think because you go into education, you were a great student, you knew how to do school. And I think the best of the best teachers, and I think that's why my husband does so well, he's pulling up now. He knew what the struggle was like. He wasn't that perfect kid in school. He wasn't that perfect, straight A student. And I wasn't either. I love school, but I did get in some trouble. I did get in some trouble back in the day. But just keep instilling that once you fall down, you get back up.
Yeah.
You get back up and that's okay. And parents, being a principal, sometimes I'd be like, oh gosh, it would be my kid. I'm trying to get these kids to do this kid to do this, and my kid may not have did as well as somebody else. But yet my kid picked himself back up. My daughters pick themselves back up when they fail. And that's something that, I want to keep instilling in our everyday youth. My oldest, when she went to Michigan, one of the things the university president told us in a meeting, he said, people that get into Michigan, they think they're these perfect kids and we want the perfect of the perfect. He said, we don't. He said, I want that kid that got an F. He said, because when they come to Michigan, they are going to fail. He said, but we want the kids that know how to fail. He said, because the kids that have never failed anything in life get away from their parents. He said, that's why you have a high rate of depression in college. He said, you have a higher rate every year of suicide. He said, because as parents, we're not allowing our kids to fail. And when we do allow them to fail, we also are teaching them what it takes to pick themselves back up. He said, and that's most important. And that stuck with me. That really, really stuck with me. Michigan everybody can't get into Michigan. Yeah. And for him to say that, it was like, wow, because we do want our kids to be perfect. I want to be perfect at times, but there's only one perfect person that walked this earth, and we all know who that was. And that's one thing that my mom instilled in me. You will never be perfect. So stop trying.
Yeah. And you mentioned how you used to read the Bible with your kids. Where did you get that from, or what put the emphasis on it as we gonna read the Bible, we're gonna talk about God, we're gonna talk about faith? What gave you the want to do that?
Growing up, we didn't go to church, I would say every Sunday. We weren't that every Wednesday, every Sunday. We weren't that type of family, but yet faith was always number one. You talk to my mom now, and she has this faith that, like they said, the faith of a mustard seed, and you see and you walk into that, and talking to my grandparents, and talking about the relationship with God. And that's so important, because there's so many people that go to church every single Sunday, but they don't have that relationship with the Father. And so that is just something that just always been instilled in me. I'll say this: the church that I went to was Soul City House of God. It was on Detroit and Door. That was my great uncle's church. Mm-hmm. And he had a picture that stood on the pulpit of the rapture of the church. And I would come to church, and I would always just sit there and just stare at that picture, never knowing really what it was. But my great grandmother, or great aunt, we called her my grandmother, she had a similar picture in her house, the rapture of the church. So that was just always something. And as I started reading the Bible and the kids started reading the Bible, that was always something that kind of stuck with me. So I studied like biblical prophecy. I studied biblical, Book of Revelation is one of my favorite books. And it's a theme in our household: stay rapture ready. So that's something that if we don't make a good choice in our family, or we do something we're not supposed to do, any one of us in the house will say, is that being rapture ready? Is that being rapture ready? So it's just something that's just always kind of ingrained in us, and just to having those conversations. But I think the biggest thing when it comes to faith is Kenray was about 4 months old when my grandfather passed away. And that was my first time really experiencing death of somebody really, really close to me. And I got close with God, at that point, because I remember the pastor saying, if you want to see him, you got to get right. You got to get right. And so he passed away. He's coming up August 3rd, was it 1998, August 3rd, 1998. And I got baptized, kind of got into the church and just focused on my relationship, with the Father. And I guess my kids, as they were growing up, they saw that in that relationship with him, and it's ingrained in them as well. I'm so proud of the women and, men that they're becoming, that they are, in the church, as well, because as we know, the time is coming to an end. It's, all these signs out here.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You talked about Revelation. I know you're seeing a lot of, what's going on, but that's what I love. Yeah, that's what I love about Jalen and Kenray, because they got a lot of people that look up to them, that follow them. So when they
Yes.
are talking about God, when they're talking about this is how I'm getting my day reading, this is how I've been doing, this is what I've been having going on. Other people see that because they might not know how. They might want a relationship with God, but might not know how it look. But you got them giving you tips,
Yep.
giving you getting your word. They got the Bible verse of the day. They talk about
Yes.
it. That's what I love about that because it's needed, especially like you said
It's
during these
needed.
times.
I saw somewhere it says sometimes the only experience somebody may have with God was you.
Yeah,
So if you out here in the world and you out here doing something, but then you're saying, I go to church, I'm a Christian. And then they seeing you do all this is like, oh, this is not equating together. So I said, you gotta be walking your purpose. You definitely gotta walk in your purpose. And I call it kingdom work. Every
yeah,
time you go out into these streets, I'm going to work every single day, just going into the grocery store or for a walk. You walking in the kingdom and people are watching. So, you got responsibility when it comes to that.
yeah. The phrase "it takes a village to raise a child" has a deep meaning. You think that that's still relevant today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just think we together, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. We all need to come together to raise our children because, these kids are dying out here in the streets.
Yeah.
I buried my 17-year-old nephew. It was in February of 23 and 17.
Mm.
17. I've been to funerals of my students. I've been to houses of parents begging their kids to get off the streets. And sometimes, something that you may say, I've had kids that made it out and they said, Mrs. Johnson, I remember what you used to tell me. Mrs. Johnson, I remember this. Mrs. Johnson, you stayed on me. Mrs. Johnson. And, out here, when, you see some kids doing wrong, a lot of times people are like, I don't want to really say nothing to them. I don't want the parent to say nothing. As young parents, we have to use our village.
Yeah.
If I'm correcting your child, or if I'm correcting you, I'm doing it out of love. But yet, as I got to say now, I'm middle aged, getting close to, we got to do it in a different way too. We can't come at these young parents and talk down to them. We got to come to them as, love and say, you know what, sweetheart, I was there with you. I was there as a single mother. I was there as a young teen mom. I was there as I'm coming to you as out of love that, get your baby off of that video game at 1 o'clock in the morning. Take your baby to the library. I'm telling you because I know. Yes, old saying that my great aunt says, I'm telling you because I know. And they got to have that spirit of listening too and say, these older generation are not coming down on me, but they're trying to teach me how to be a better mom, how to be a better neighbor, how to be a better, Christian. And we got to just stop judging each other. And I think that's what it all comes down to. But if our village could get together, we could rule the world. Our village, we're just too separated. We just need to come together. We definitely need to come together. And I see it and I know it's possible. I know it's possible.
Yeah. How do you find balance with being a mom or wife, dealing with school, the work? How do you find balance? And second part on that, speak to all the teachers and administration when they're feeling overwhelmed. What could they do to help them?
I'm still working on that. I can be honest. I'm still working on that. Um, that what I can say, and this is something I shared before we got on. God will tell you to slow down before you slow down. He will tell you in short little hints. You're doing too much. You're doing too much, and either you slow down or I'm gonna make you slow down. And I've been in too many situations where I didn't listen. I'm going, I'm going, I'm going, and God physically like, nope, you're gonna sit. You're gonna sit. You need to give that time to me, or you need to give that time back to your body. That is something that is very hard for me to do because I'm always going. I'm always going. Just even over the summer, checking emails constantly, responding to parents. I just love doing that, but at some point it has to be a balance. I think this is the first summer where I have sometimes just shut down my phone and didn't respond, or shut down my email, and a couple days I said I'm just not responding back. And I think that's important, that we do have to find a balance. My husband and I, on my birthday every year, we go out of town, just him and I. And we've started doing that the last 3 years. And when I tell you that is the most joyful time of sitting on a beach with no deadlines, no people calling. If we go on a cruise, of course you can't reach us if we're on a cruise somewhere. Just to reflect on how blessed we are as a family, how blessed we are. It's coming up on our 25th wedding anniversary come November. To find time just to get ourselves together to get back to what we do. Because if I'm not 100%, it's not going to be 100%. Hey, babe. It's not going to be, 100%. So finding that time, just vacation and just shutting down and just shutting down.
How do you define legacy, and what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind the lives of all the many people that you've touched?
Oh, that's a good question. Legacy. The legacy I want to leave behind is, especially for the administration or principals, teachers that come after me, is never give up. Every kid can learn. Every kid can meet their potential. Every teacher can meet their potential. All it takes is one person to change your life.
Yeah.
One person, and you could be that one person. And, I talked earlier about kingdom work. I could be that one person where that kid is just down and out for the day and think, I can't do this any longer. And it may be something I say, a hug that I give. And they're like, you know what, I can make it another day. Because it's important. And I think that's the legacy that teaching, principalship, leadership is so, so, so important. We talk about teachers, teach doctors, they teach lawyers, everything. That's true. That's true. We are the first faces these kids see when they come in kindergarten, how their faces are bright and they're ready to go. And it's our job to keep that face lighted up through 8th grade, through high school, through college. And, that's our job. That's our role. You got to take that serious. You have to take that serious. And we have one of the most important jobs in the world. And, I invite educators to come into our school and just view our school and walk around. These are pre-service educators. And I tell them, this is not for the weak. Yeah. Just don't get into it because it's a job or it's an easy major or something like that. If you're not ready to do the work, I hate to say, get out, do something, find something that you want to do. My grandfather told me, find something you love to do and get paid for it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you every single day, I love what I do. I love what I do. I love it. I've still got a smile on my face. And once I get to that point and say, this ain't working, you will be at my retirement party. I'll tell you that.
In one or two words, how would you describe your purpose?
1 or 2 words describe my purpose. That's hard as 1 or 2 words. Kingdom work.
I like it.
Kingdom work.
You see how I drop that on your download? All right, I'm gonna ask you before we get out of here. I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. What's one word your closest friends or student will use to describe you?
Repeat that one more time.
What's one word your closest friends or students will use to describe you?
High achiever. I gotta give you 2.
Okay.
High achiever.
Coffee, tea, or something else to start the morning?
Coffee and energy drink.
Okay.
Don't tell my doctor. Don't tell my doctor.
What was your favorite subject growing up in school, and what was your least favorite?
Social studies. So I'm a history buff. Least favorite, math.
Okay. Who was a teacher or mentor who had a lasting impact on you?
Ooh, I got too many.
All of them.
Ooh. I'll tell you a good and a bad. I had a teacher in in junior high that told me I wasn't going to be anything.
Oh, no.
Yes. And I lived to prove that man wrong. But it stuck with me. That's why you got to watch what you say to people.
Yeah.
You know, those words. And so that had a positive impact on me. All those negative words, that's a positive impact because I made sure I was going to prove him wrong. My first Black teacher was Miss Stone. She was a math teacher. First Black teacher I ever had. Ann Redmond, she was my principal mentor. I call her my mother today. She taught me everything I know as far as the principalship. Mr. Woody, rest in peace. He was my school improvement leader. His grandson went to my school. I learned a lot about being an educator from Mr. Woody, Miss Batson. I know I'm forgetting my favorite teacher growing up. Her name was Miss Kelly Laro. And she had a bathtub in her classroom, and I would go in that bathtub and read a book. And 2 years ago, it's funny, it was Teacher Appreciation Week. And they were like, name your favorite teacher. And I put her name out there and she called me at school. And she said, I saw what you wrote. And let me tell you, that's why I'm an avid reader today outside of my dad. But Kelly Laro, she was one of my favorite teachers. So
I had Miss Basson used to be our principal at Nathan Hill. If you could take a dream vacation anywhere right now, where would you go?
Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
I'm working on that.
What's one book you think every educator should read?
Oh, gosh. I read so many books. One I just put back in my rotation is called, they just reinvented. It's called Data 2.0. Data 2.0. Yes.
What's your go-to way to unwind after a long day?
Get in the bathtub and read a book. And watch Tubi. I'm addicted to those crazy Tubi movies.
Wow. If you weren't in education, what other career would you see yourself thriving in?
A doctor. I actually started off in pre-med at the University of Cincinnati. Yes.
Wow.
I wanted to go in forensics.
Wow. What's a song that always lifts your spirit and gets you in a good mood?
You said a song?
Yeah.
I don't listen to a lot of music, but it's a guy out there. I'm sure you've seen him on social media. He kicks his foot out.
Oh.
And he's like, hype me up.
Yeah.
Hype me up. Every time I see his video, I just smile.
Flipper T. Yeah. Flipper
Yeah.
T.
Is that his name?
No, he just do it like as the doing it, but it's a girl song. It's called
I've seen her, but hear that song and to see him dancing every time it come on, I get a little embarrassed because he be in the middle of nowhere, but I'm always hype me up.
Yeah.
Hype me up.
What's one thing about you people would be surprised to learn?
One thing, say that again.
What's one thing about you people would be surprised to learn?
I go to sleep every night at 8:00. I don't care who at my house. I shut down. Okay. Always have. I love to sleep. Something else about myself. Again, I study prophecy. Yeah. I study biblical prophecy.
All right. Before we end, series of questions, you pick one or the other. Early mornings or late nights?
Early morning.
Classroom teaching or education leadership conference?
Oh, say that again.
Early classroom teaching or education leadership conference?
Oh, a little bit of both, but I'll go into a classroom teaching.
Reading a good book or watching a great movie?
Reading a good book.
Phone call or text message?
Send me a text. Don't call me.
Summer break or winter holidays?
Summer break.
Field trips or school assemblies?
Oh, field trip.
Parent-teacher conference or student-led conference?
Student-led conference. More to come on that one.
Okay. Old school chalkboard or digital sparkboard?
Give me a chalkboard.
Purpose driven or results driven?
Both. I
Um,
can't choose on that.
yeah,
You set your
yeah.
purpose and you're gonna get results.
Yeah, yeah. So before we leave, can you get words of encouragement to the youth and educators?
Yes, words of encouragement. Live to see another day. It always gets better. And what you're going through, other people have went through it. They're going through it. You're gonna go through it again. But pick yourself up. Pick yourself up. And it's a lot of people out here that's rooting for you that you don't even know. There are people that's mentioning your names in rooms that you don't even know. And walk in your purpose. Walk in your purpose. And everybody's in this world for a purpose. And you just got to find what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And the other one was a teacher. What was the second question?
No, you picked both of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You
Okay.
picked both of them. Well, Ms. Johnson, we're spotlighting you for all the hard work that you do in the community, in the schools, and even people, even relationship, for all the things that you've done, the people that you poured into, the things that you do behind the scenes that nobody do just because you do, because you got a heart after God. We pray that God continue to bless you, that He strengthen you, encourage you during this new school year, that you will be able to pour into everybody that comes across you. So, we just send blessings to you, your family, and just continue to be great. And we appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank
We'd
you for
love to have
inviting
you
me.
back on. Yeah, we'd love to have
I
you back
know. And it's
on.
good to see all my kids, my
Yeah,
students. I'm like, oh, Kennedy, I see Jason. I'm like,
yeah,
yes, let's go.
yeah.
Girl
Uh-huh.
Patterson.
Like I said, you have made a major impact. That's why I said I gotta have you on there. So
Oh,
appreciate you. We'll be touching base back with you and continue to be blessed.
gosh, thank you. And stop in to Grow Patterson any day. We would love to have
Okay.
you stop over.
Okay. Thank you.